Tessa, before we start. It's Friday. Tell me, please. I hope you danced at some point today.
Oh, I've been dancing all day. Ever since I met you, I've been taking that very seriously, the on Fridays we dance.
So, even before I give you an introduction, we should probably go back to 2018, and not the Olympics. The fact that when I was on tour with you, and we did a number of book signings in many stores across the country, and I interviewed you, and on one of the occasions, we happened to have danced in the back room, and then we posted it on Instagram, and we basically broke the internet.
We did. You're my favorite account to follow for that reason, because you're always so creative. You bring so much joy to so many people through your dance routines.
You are very kind, and I know that you were thinking of majoring in ballet. You didn't, but I think we're cut from the same cloth because we both dance extremely well.
That's absolutely true. You're a great partner, I'll say that.
So let me give you a proper introduction, and there's way too many on this list, and I'm gonna read it off, and you're just gonna listen and hopefully smile. And there's a lot that I'm missing.
I'll sit.
Yeah, because we only have a half hour. 4-time world championships, 3 4-continent championships, 9-time Canadian championships, 6 Skate Canada international titles, and highest total score in ice dancing. 2010 Olympic gold, 2014 2 silver, 2018 2 gold, highest total score in ice dancing, flag bearer in 2018, member of Canada's Walk of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame, and most recently, I'm telling you, I'm just going to say this because my heart bleeds a little bit because you're so generous. You recently, as of just, I think, last week, donated 1,000 plus meals to healthcare workers in the greater Vancouver area. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't do that.
The rest of check Wikipedia. I don't know about the rest, but
no, that's right. Yeah, but this whole pandemic has got to me. I think it's definitely got to you also, because knowing you for the past few years, I feel as though you ooze empathy. Is that true? You always are placing yourself in somebody else's shoes. Is that innate? Were you born with that quality?
Thank you. That's so kind. I think so. I mean, I think I was surrounded by a lot of really compassionate people, a lot of people who were considerate and empathetic and conscious of, stepping outside of their own personal bubble and seeing how their actions or how someone else might feel. And so that's just sort of how I was raised.
So speak to me about the current pandemic. First and foremost, you're safe, you're healthy. I'm assuming that those around your bubble are also safe and healthy.
Yes, yeah, I've had 2 friends who suffered through Corona but have come out the other side and are healthy now, and everyone else has been managing quite well. Yeah, and how about you on your end?
No complaints. Family is good. We've been stuck at home now for 10 weeks. There's never any fighting, not at all. Whereas, like Beaver Cleaver family, and I know that you're an animal lover, and my dog Redford happens to be sitting literally right beside me and won't move. I don't know whether it's because he knows it's you, but
can he make an appearance?
Pardon?
Can he make an appearance here? Can I see him?
Yeah, I can. You'll have to stare at literally this bookcase for about a nanosecond so I can get him, and then I'll be right back. That's what you really want.
Oh, it's well worth the wait.
Yeah.
Come on, Redford. Make your Instagram debut.
That's right. So this is Redford.
Hi. Oh, look at him.
Yeah. So all he wants is either he wants to sleep or go outside, but he's loving it because we have him every day, 24 hours a day. So I think he's thinking to himself, either get out of my house, leave me alone, or walk me all the time.
Well, are you concerned about what happens when you're on the other side of this and how you'll ever leave the house?
Yeah, I'm very concerned.
Anxiety.
Yeah. And it reaffirms my belief that everyone at some point, if they can, should have any pet. This right here, that is unconditional love.
It's the best, isn't it?
Oh my God. Like you wouldn't believe. It's every day you wake up and it's a joy, right?
Yeah, and coming home and that's the nicest feeling. Or just staying, I guess, in your case right now.
That's right. So, talk to me a little bit. We have this great book, Tessa and Scott, from 2018. It's going to be backwards, but I'm going to hold it up just because. So that's the backwards edition, but inside, everyone should know, it has the most beautiful pictures, phenomenal writing. Obviously, this is living history. I have to ask you, Tessa, does it ever get old? Is there ever a day that you wake up and you completely forget or blank out, or just say to yourself, the Olympics, skating championships, whatever. Like, how is it possible that you can live every day knowing what you have accomplished?
I don't think it ever becomes sort of that blasé notion of what we accomplished, but I do sometimes feel dissociated from the person and the team that accomplished those goals. It's sometimes hard to put myself back into that mindset that we were in, you know, especially in those 2 years leading into Pyeongchang, but I suppose really 22 years leading up to that, just that structured discipline, that rigorous training schedule. Sometimes I do find it hard to remember what that felt like. You know, selective memory is a beautiful thing because I can remember the high and I can remember the podium. I can remember the feeling of skating Moulin Rouge, but I do challenge myself often to go back to those days, 6 a.m. in a freezing cold rink, injured, sick, tired, whatever it was, and think about what it was that got us through that and what was that driving force. And it seemed like we were chasing something really significant and meaningful.
I love how I have a whole list of questions here, but you and I seem to always go off, and quite frankly, I love it. I didn't think you were going to mention Moulin Rouge, but I'm going to go there because you did. So, we're going there. So Roxanne and that entire dance. How does that happen? Is there a meeting? Because I'm trying to get inside your mind. I'm sure everyone watching wants to do the same. Are you sitting in a room and there's songs that are being thrown around and everyone's trying to determine, okay, what works, what doesn't, what's unique, what's original, what moves will be perfect for this type of beat? How does it work?
Yeah, a lot of those kinds of conversations, and especially in the lead up to that particular season. Of course, coming into an Olympic Games, everyone wants a bit of your journey. Like, everyone wants to feel like they're part of it. So we got inundated with messages and advice from people about what we should skate to. And it should be dramatic, but it should have people smiling. It should have people in tears, but it should be, you know, something never done before in the history of the sport, but recognizable. And so there were so many confounding messages as we were trying to sift through, you know, our repertoire of music. And Scott actually came to me with the Moulin Rouge idea. And he said, you know, crazy as it seems, I think it ticks all the boxes. It does have the drama, it has romance, it has passion, but there's also just an element to the music that is raw and easy to get into with the layers and the nuances of the musicality.
Also, I feel that, and I don't have a theater background, but I love performing. I feel like even the costumes, like, this is whole. It's holistic. It's all the pieces have to fit together in order to make it work.
Absolutely, yeah. It's and that was sort of our approach. The last 2 years of our career, it was holistic in every way. Every member of our team, whether it was our nutritionist, our strength and conditioning coach, our honest coaches, our costume designer, they were always in constant communication. And the whole goal was just to set us up to be the best in that one moment. And you're right, costuming plays such a role, especially in ice dance.
I want to go back to a comment that you made, and I think in an interview, and I think you probably said it before. And I feel that it's appropriate now because of what everyone is going through. It is very easy for our mind to go to a very dark place, especially during a pandemic, and especially now trying to determine how we're going to get out of this. Finance, family, career. You said in an interview that when you pass the judges before skating, sometimes you have a fear that you're going to fall. Even though you've never fallen, when you're skating, you have a fear that you're going to fall. Where does that come from? How does that manifest? And is that nerves? Is it an instantaneous reaction that I'm not good enough? Because I want to go back to what you said in 2010. You recently posted your journal entry from 2010 on your Instagram account. And you're probably looking at me saying, boy, this guy should be on 60 Minutes. He really does his research. So
I love it.
So in 2010, I'm quoting you. You wrote, I am now realizing it's not just about being here, it's about winning. I want to win more than anything. I have a job to do. I deserve to be here. I am the best. Try to remember that. Now, I want that everyone out there should know, this is not self-satisfying. This is not an ego play. you are actually trying to reaffirm and being your own coach by writing this down. So A, this journal wasn't cathartic, and B, if you say you're the best, why does your mind still go to that dark place that you may fall in front of the judges?
Yeah, I think so much of that is the flight or fight instinct that kicks in times of stress or pressure. And you referenced this pandemic. I think it's so easy for our brains to panic and quickly go to the negative and catastrophize. And it can be mounting and overwhelming and ever so daunting. And our brain asks questions when it wants to protect us, when it thinks that we're going to be in pain, or when it thinks that we're approaching a situation that might endanger or put us in danger. And it asks questions. And sometimes it's just about quieting the noise. So for me, it was a mantra, or looking at Scott squeezing his hand, feeling like we could reflect on our preparation. I mean, there's so many things you can do, calm your breathing, to be present in the moment. But every instinct wants to put you elsewhere and wants to question your value and your worth. And I think that's important to note. I mean, even when we were the best in the world, when we had won the Olympics and coming off of the 2018 games and we were on tour, I would still step on the ice and sometimes feel like I was an imposter. And sometimes think, will people figure out that I'm faking this? And I know that that's a real syndrome that a lot of people have despite success. But it's good to talk about because, you know, it's refreshing to know that other people also have doubts and fears. And I think what fascinates me most about humans is how resilient we are and how you can find a way to push through. You can find a way to, I don't know if that's the grit or just sheer determination, to overcome that. And ultimately that's where the pride comes in.
So talk to us again, and I'm going to divert again in a set of questions that are not prepared because I knew this was going to happen. You talk about resilience. You talk about grit. You are an Olympian. You're a gold medalist, and I'll say that in the present, you are a gold medalist. I think obviously you always will be. What do you say to your fellow athletes that will not be competing this year in the Summer Olympics? So when you look back, you trained 4 years, 8 years, 12 years for that moment. As an athlete, I'm not going to use the word destructive. I'm actually going to speak to the psyche, and I know that in school, in university, your major was psychology. What do you say to your fellow athletes when they've been preparing for this moment for 4 years, and now it's another year away, if they even qualify?
Right. My heart just breaks for them for so many reasons, because you're right. I mean, you're planning to peak at a certain moment, and it's so scientific, and that's mentally, emotionally, physically, there are so many factors that go into setting yourself up for that moment. But I have no doubt that our Canadian athletes will rally and rise to the occasion whenever that may be. Because it's ingrained in us as athletes to adapt. And part of success is preparing for the unknown. And that will be so evident. I think the athletes that I've spoken to have really been able to